All right. Definitely which way Nigeria we get into. All right, so we're going to start this video from the 17th. By the way, this video is online. We can also add the link on our page so that you can have access. Please, tomorrow, instead of going to church, read this thing like Bible. Like begin to read it like Bible. So that's good no matter where. That where wasn't a slip of tongue. It's a serious where. Turn this thing on and listen to it in complete silence, and you will be flabbergasted.
Honored to introduce the NINA spokesperson, Mr. Tony Nadi, to shed more light on today's topic, Caliphate not food embargo on the South, a welcome catalyst to union reset. Please, Mr. Nadi, you have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I'm coming through.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We have just listened to a broadcast pointing at the specifics of what are being done by this same set of people. The synopsis also, touched on some of those things. Now, we gather here every week not to come and lament. We actually discussing the actions we can take, we are not taking, we are planning to take in self-redemption. I'm sure we recall that on the third anniversary of the 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure proclamation, that we in December, NINAS in December of 2023, did say that there will be an altar call in the first quarter of 2024. First quarter will end midnight of 31st of March. We are 26 or so today. And so finishing touches now being put to what that altar call will be. That altar call is to receive into our fold the many who now agree with NINAS that we cannot continue under the yoke of this constitution. If our people will do the little we ask them to do, we've not asked them to do any heavy thing. And probably that may even be why they think, oh, we are not doing riots, therefore. But they are not looking now to see that there's no amount of riot that will have gotten the Fulani into the situation they are in now. If you had gone to try to do riot, what you saw in eastern Nigeria with the IPOB and the Biafra restoration, gambit, will be as we saw in Ogoni when Ken Saruwa thought he could restore Ogoni all by itself, or even the jaw that witnessed the OD, the Okerenkoko, and all such other massacres because people, acted in isolation. So the system is a big monster that's able to circle up and contain. At the time they're circling you up, they will find flawed characters from your space, whom they will offer some carrots to be on their side. The governors and the senators and the ministers and council chairmen and the assemblymen who swear to defend and uphold that instrument by which the rest are held down, you can see the kind of humongous personal benefits that come to them. So they are not on your side of this discussion. And so I want us to more purposefully measure what progress we have made. Looking at what has happened between the National Assembly that advertised their intention to go and write another constitution and their agents who converged in Lagos to give some kind of public imprimatur to what they were planning to do. They actually wanted to smuggle that 2014 conference report into the space as the decision of the peoples of Nigeria. They are trying to say, knowing fully well that Ninas has now broken through the barricades to insist on the sovereignties that were confiscated being restored in the sense of the owners of those sovereignties, because it's all about land and peoples. Peoples in the sense of distinct ethnic nations occupying ancestral lands. That's what, that's what becomes sovereignty. It is to distinct nations occupying their ancestral spaces that sovereignty attached. And so the British came, hijacked these sovereignties and consolidated it without reference in 1914, without reference to the owners of the sovereignties with whom they signed treaties prior to the amalgamation. At the point of amalgamation, what started as guile progressed to brute force, because you just woke up and you're told you are now in Nigeria. There were protests in Lagos. Go and check the records. When they woke up to that amalgamation, there were protests that they had to put down. Whereas there was a Doba in Zungeru and Sokoto. They had various, Doba is the highest form of celebration you find in the Caliphate, space. They celebrated Doba in Zungeru, which was the seat of the colonial government of the time, and Sokoto, the seat of the Caliphate. What were they celebrating? You go back to 1913 telegram of Harcourt, who was then secretary for the colonies, to whom Lugard had to report that the office in London that was in charge of what they were doing in India, in Nigeria, and all the many places they were governing at the time. And so Harcourt, in a telegram of December 1913, when the story of what they were planning to do in Nigeria had leaked, it was leaked by a German newspaper, on Boxing Day. And people then began to ask, people who you could call the media today, say, Secretary, what are we hearing? He responded, because in those days, questions could be sent to you and they still do it. You then answer in writing, as then they will publish. It used to be by telegram. So they send you send back, and they go to press, and it becomes the news the next morning. So it was in that response, arising from the question that came when that news leak had been done by a German newspaper that reported the issue on the 26th of December, the Boxing Day of 1913, that the Nigeria that was in 3 compartments of the time, the Northern Protectorate, the Southern Protectorate, and the colony of Lagos. The colony of Lagos was by itself, was a British territory that operated under, a separate set of laws comparable to what they had in England. In the other places, with different degrees of modifications. In the north, they allowed the emirs and their system, which they now describe as indirect rule. And in the south, because of the resistance they got from all the places in the south, they impose what you could call military rule, which was the direct rule. They sent district officers, and their enforcers were the ones in government house. And the renegades, the local willing tools, they manage this traditional in the east. All these people you see, Royal Highness left and right all across the east, they were warrant chiefs. These are the worst of society that the British decided to coronate as spies and people who are going to be their own agents. Like they did with the police constabulary, they set up. That's the people who are going to carry guns were the people the community had rejected. So that anger they had to put their loyalty on the side of the British that had come to make them. So both the law enforcement and the traditional ruler, the traditional rulers, they coronate. These were all the mechanisms. They retained what they wanted to retain in one part. They destroyed completely. They destroyed the local, the governance structures, the traditional governance structures in the East were completely decimated and replaced by bogus. So I can tell you, in many of the places, most of our people don't know who is part of all this Royal Highness liaison. Is in the media. It doesn't exist in our midst. It was the British that imposed them on us as people who will take a portion of what those in government house get to spy on their people. That's what they do. That's why they allotted 5% of the local government, whatever the local government gets in allocation. These people you call your traditional rulers, they share 5% of it. So that 5%, if you're a retired school principal, for instance, maybe your pension will still be floating below 100,000 naira. If the local government gets allocation of 100 or 200 million, the average they get every month, you can imagine 5% of it to whoever is paramount ruler in the area. There could be two of them. At times, there could be three local governments that fall under one paramount ruler. But there could also be one local government that has more than one. But when you take 5%, of 200 million, 10% of it is 20 million. 5% of it is 10 million. That's the kind of assured remuneration that comes to those people who parade themselves as your traditional rulers. And the government, in return, relies on them to spy on you. They are never, that's why you won't see any of them, not that we didn't go to look for them, we went to look for them all over the place. They are not on our side. We are breaking down the mechanisms so that you can know the forces, the politicians that swear to defend and uphold this constitution, those ones you can see from afar. But the ones who present themselves as your own, you now think indigenous people, you can see that in the Yoruba space, in the Igbo space, you can't find any meaningful traditional ruler who is on the side of the people for good.
No.
Look at where they are when the matters turn up in terms of between what Nigeria wants and what their people want. It's always what Nigeria wants that they stand with. I'm giving you the background to it. The British that came took their time to destroy what they could destroy, retained what they wanted to retain. The indirect rule they did in the north was that the Caliphate, the Emirate system, in which the Sultan now is the head, they allow them to keep, because they already subjugated the people in a feudal setting. England itself, the UK itself, the British crown is a feudalist setting. But for that reason, they didn't have to disrupt something that has locked the people down. Rather, they empowered the emirs some more, gave them more guns to beat down the people, so that between them and the emirs, when the door is closed, the white man is in charge. When the people are not looking, once that door is closed, the emir is taking instruction. If you go back to the pyramid of evil, you will see that we indicated that in that hierarchy, the British and their government are the top. The Caliphate next, that nobody speaks up, nobody argues with the one up. So the Caliphate does not argue with England. They take whatever London says. Then between the two of them, London will dictate what will go into constitution, because London is concealing itself from the people who are suffering. In that hierarchy, the constitution sitting below the Caliphate. That's why they're operating above your constitution.